Hey, everybody. It's a Wednesday pre-Thanksgiving edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. It is November 23rd, 2022, and a lot to get to today. Coming up on today's final podcast of Thanksgiving week, we'll look ahead to the Browns Sunday matchup with the Buccaneers. We'll look ahead to what's coming up for the Cleveland Cavaliers, including a game tonight to try to extend their 3-game winning streak. Plus, I'll pick all the games except for the Monday Nighter, including the Thursday games tomorrow, all on this Wednesday edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
Podcast is not for the faint of heart.
And I do think it's time for the Browns to move on.
It's not for those who ride the fence.
He's proven nothing.
But if you're looking for someone who tells it like it is about Cleveland sports,
everybody does fandom their way.
You've come to the right place.
I don't think he's any good.
It's time for the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
So, obviously, there's no denying it's been a miserable season for the Browns in every way. Your starting quarterback was controversial when you acquired him. Then he got suspended for 11 games. It's been you've had heartbreaking losses. You've had another season where there were some expectations, and it's all gone down the tubes. The Browns have a 2.4% chance to make the playoffs. That tells you it's probably not going to happen, right? That means if you play, in theory, if you played the season 100 times, twice you'd make the playoffs, right? The rest of the season, the Browns have to go 7-0, and that might not be good enough. They could go 6-1, and they probably would still not make the playoffs. They could go 7-0, and they probably still make the playoffs. There's no reason to believe in this team. They've shown no consistency whatsoever. They've had some good moments. They've had one great moment against Cincinnati, and that's been it. It's been nothing but disappointment. The reality is, and all that's reality, right? I mean, players have underachieved. We could argue whether coaches have underachieved. I'd say there's plenty of blame to go around. The owner, the GM, the coaches, the assistant coaches, the front office, players, everybody. Everybody takes some share of the blame, or at least should, in what's happened here. Even the players that have played well, I mean, maybe we'll leave them out of it. But there's not many. There really isn't. There's a lot of things to be disappointed in. The reality is I think most of us didn't think they'd go to the playoffs once we knew Deshaun Watson would be suspended 11 games. However, as I've talked about plenty of times before, we thought it would be because the offense wasn't good enough in the first 11 weeks, and that's not the case. The offense has been more than good enough. Last 2 weeks the offense hasn't been as good. Jacoby Brissett put up good numbers, but it was they were down for the entire second half. It was in a losing effort. The offense wasn't good at all the week before against Miami. But for the most part, they're 3-7 because of their defense, right? As special teams has not been good. Defense has been terrible. The run defense has been historically bad. The run offense has been good. The pass offense has been solid. But even the run offense hasn't been there much the last 2 weeks. Teams are loading up the box big time, forcing Brissett to beat them. And even though Brissett's played well, he hasn't played well enough to overcome a bad defense, and the running game stalling out a little bit here in the last couple of weeks. So what to do and what to look for the rest of the season? It's pretty simple. I still want to win. If I'm the Browns, we could talk about punting the season. My man G. Bush came up with a great term, a gentleman's punt. We could talk about all of this. We could talk about it doesn't matter. It matters. It matters because your new quarterback, like him or not, is going to be starting after one more game. And he is the future of this team. If he's not, then things are even a much bigger disaster than they seem right now. But it appears he is the future for this team. He is hopefully the quarterback for the next decade plus. He is the most talented quarterback the Browns have had in my lifetime. Maybe the most talented Browns quarterback they've ever had. And he hasn't played a single game for them yet. And I don't know how good he's going to be when he first hits the field. I think he's going to be good, not elite. I'm hoping he's elite by next year. I'm hoping he's elite the second he takes the field. I don't know. I mean, he's going to be rusty. He hasn't played for 2 years. Who knows how good he's going to be? But the guy's still young, and when he's been on the field, he's been magnificent for the most part. Has he won enough? No. Was the team he was on good enough? No. Was he able to overcome the lack of talent? His first 2 years, yes. His third year, no. So he's got a lot to prove. He hasn't done anything in the playoffs. He's got a lot to prove. They got a lot to prove. Everybody has a lot to prove. Most of the guys have a lot to prove on this team, and that includes Kevin Stefanski. It includes the whole coaching staff. Now, I don't think Joe Woods, who frankly should have been fired already this year, is going to survive this rest. I don't think he's going to survive this offseason. I would think that Mike Prefer's not, although I'm not sure of that because I don't know. He's been here a bit now. It doesn't get talked about as much as the defense. I think the special teams has been abysmal, and I think Mike Prefer should be gone. I never liked the hire. I don't like the guy. I don't know him personally, but I don't like some of the things he said in the past, so I don't like him. But he's done a terrible job. And that's the bottom line in the NFL. Nobody cares what you say. Nobody cares what you do for the most part. They pretend like they do, but they don't. It's all about, do you perform? The DC hasn't performed, get him out. The special teams coach hasn't performed, get him out. The head coach, I get the argument. I have staunchly supported Kevin Stefanski. It's getting harder to do it. I want to see him with Deshaun Watson. I want to see him go into next year. And, if we're at this point, if we're halfway next year, they're still not good, well, then obviously I was wrong and the people who have defended him have been wrong and he's going to be gone. I don't think that's going to be the case. Otherwise, if I thought that was going to be the case, then I wouldn't be arguing for him to stay. I understand why people want Kevin Stefanski fired. It's more than reasonable at this point, considering Jimmy Haslam's track record, that he could potentially be fired. No matter what I say, you say, or anybody else says, Kevin Stefanski could very well be fired before the end of the season or in the offseason. It's certainly a possibility. Jimmy Haslam is a complete wild card. You never know what he's going to do. He's done almost everything wrong in his decade as owner of the Browns. He's been an absolutely abysmal owner. I think he finally got it right with Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, but I certainly could be wrong. Those guys are not, those guys have more to prove. We don't know if they've gotten it right. They've gotten some things right. They've gotten some things wrong. Are they the right guys for the job? I think the jury's still out. I think every other guy that's been hired by this organization as a head coach and GM since Jimmy Haslam took over has clearly been the wrong guy. One after the next after the next. I still think these guys are the right guys, but I understand why some people don't. And you may be right, and I may be wrong, and that's not easy for me to say, as people know. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I don't love it, but I'll admit it. At this point, we don't know. At this point, it's up in the air. At this point, there's fair criticisms. At this point, I could say, Andrew Berry, you've done some good things. I look through the track record of trades and free agent signings and draft picks, and I see some things that I like, some things that are alarming, though. I see a guy who has not been able to – I see a team that has not been able to draft and develop anybody in the front seven. Nobody. They have not – at this point, Myles Garrett was drafted before 2 regimes ago and was developed long before. The rest of the front seven has been a zero this year. I like the Anthony Walker signing. He's been a solid player, but he's hurt. JOK, I don't know if he's any good. The rest of the defensive front players they've added have been bad. All the draft picks they've spent in the front seven right now look bad. I think JOK is the only one with hope, and I don't think he's been used properly. So there's a lot to complain about. All that being said, I think the Browns got some wins in them down the stretch. I know they're 3-7. I know they're playing bad football for the most part. If it wasn't for the Bengal game, you could argue there's been as bad as any team in the league. I think they got some wins in them. I said yesterday on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show they're going to go 5-2 in their last 7. I'm probably getting a little carried away. They're probably more likely to go 4-3. And even that seems unrealistic with the way they've played. I look at the schedule. I look at Deshaun Watson playing 6 of those 7 games. My expectation for him. I'm trying to believe this team has some pride, some heart, some guts, some fight, some toughness in them. I think they can go 5-2. I don't think they can do better than that. I think 5-2 is extremely optimistic. That's where I'm leaning. That would give them an 8-9 season, which is exactly what I predicted in the beginning of the year. Maybe that's why I think they're going to go 5-2. Deshaun Watson, his play will decide how much hope we have in the offseason. And Browns fans, don't get it wrong. You know who you are. I know who you are. I'm a Clevelander. I know Clevelanders. You're all going to be back on the – and for those of you who say you're not, and by the way, if you say you're not jumping back in next year, if that were the case, you wouldn't be watching or listening to this podcast right now. You'll all be back in next year. You'll all be ready to go. You'll all have that excitement. But if Deshaun Watson plays really well in the final 6 games, overall, even if the first game or two he looks rusty, but overall, if he plays well in these final 6 games, the expectations are going to be back through the roof next year. There is zero doubt in my mind, and you'll all be excited again. 100%. All right, when we come back, I'm going to go around the NFL for week number 12. We'll look at all the games, including the Browns. I'll make my picks for this week. We'll go through the Thursday games, the Thanksgiving triple header tomorrow, and all the Sunday games. I'll save the Monday game for the Monday podcast. We'll get to that. I'll get to the Cavs later. It's all coming up. First, I got to talk to you about BetOnline, betonline.net, your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. We've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. You haven't lost the podcast. I just shut off the video for a sec. Don't know why I haven't thought of this sooner. Video coming back on. Here we go. All right. Let's get to the NFL games this week. Let's start. I'll wrap it up with the Browns. Let's start with Thursday. No, Home Depot. We don't want to hear from you right now. All right, triple header tomorrow. Triple header. I love all 3 games. I know 2 spreads are really big, but I think I like the underdogs to cover in both of these games. I'm going to start with the Lions at home. Not been a big fan of the Lions overall. I don't think Dan Campbell's a great coach, but listen, I give him credit. They played with a lot of toughness, and he deserves credit for that. They've played with some heart and some toughness. They've got some talent on the offensive side of the ball. But a lot of this is the reason I think the Lions will cover. I think the Bills are going to win the game, but I think the Lions will cover because they're at home. The Bills have had a crazy last week. It's their second game in 5 days, with all the travel and everything they've had to deal with and lack of practice in Buffalo. Plus, they're not playing great football. Josh Allen is not playing great football right now. And I think that allows the Lions, even with their bad defense, but their offense has been pretty good. DeAndre Swift getting healthy. Jamal Williams has been great as really their primary back when it was supposed to be Swift. They've got some talent on the offensive side of the ball. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a really good wide receiver. They're going to get that first-round pick Jamison Williams back soon. Probably not for this game, but soon. Anyway, I think the Bills will win. Lions cover. I'll take the Lions plus 9.5. I feel the same way about Giants and Cowboys. I think the line is a little too reactionary to what happened last week. I mean, until last week, I thought the Cowboys were better than the Giants, but I didn't think they were that much better. And then the Cowboys destroyed the Vikings, and the Giants lost to the Lions. And you're like, okay, the Giants are a fraud. And I do think the Giants are a somewhat fraudulent team. I said that. I've been saying that for weeks. But the Cowboys late in the year, they tend to struggle at times. It's a rivalry game. Giants have been good on the road so far this year. Again, I think the Cowboys are going to win, but I don't see it as a blowout. I think the Giants keep it close. I think both the Bills and the Cowboys will win by 3-7. So getting 9.5, I'll take the Lions plus the 9.5, and I'll take the Giants plus the 9.5. And then the Sunday night game, Minnesota coming off an absolute ass-kicking at the hands of the Dallas Cowboys after they had upset the Bills the week before. The Patriots won an ugly game with the Jets, a game they won 10-3 on a punt return for a touchdown in the final, 2 minutes of the game. It was hideous. Neither team could do anything on offense. Minnesota's offense was terrible last week. We know New England could play some defense, but I thought Minnesota was a fraud. But when I say they're a fraud, it means I don't think they're a great team. I still think they're a good team. And I don't believe in the Patriots. So I think the Vikings will win at home. I'll lay the 2.5 on the Thanksgiving night game. Let's go to Sunday at 1 o'clock again. I'll skip the Browns and Buccaneers. We'll get back to them later. Let's start with another team in this division. That's the Bengals. You look. Listen, the Ravens are going to win this division. I've talked about it. You look at the comparison of schedules between the Ravens and Bengals the rest of the way. The Ravens have a huge advantage. Ravens are at the Jaguars, and they're a 4-point favorite. Bengals are at the Titans. They're actually a 1.5-point favorite, even though the Titans have a better record. I'm not a big Titans guy. They're a one-dimensional team. And the fact that the Bengals got their best run stopper, DJ Reader, back last week, he had a week to kind of knock off the rust. I think that's big. If the Bengals get Jamar Chase back this week, it'll be even bigger. It's unknown. The reports initially were that he was going to play this week. We'll see. We'll find out, I guess, this afternoon if he practices. But there's at least a decent chance he comes back to make the Bengals offense even more dangerous. Joe Mixon had a concussion last week. I don't know if he's going to play. That would hurt them too, but, we shall see. I do like the Bengals on the road. I think they'll win this game. I think it's an important game for them because they have got a brutal schedule the rest of the way. So I'll take both the Bengals and the Jaguars. And the Ravens. I don't think the Jaguars will cover. Ravens offense hasn't been great. It really hasn't, but I'm not a believer in Jacksonville. Lamar Jackson's not playing great football, by the way. Everybody went on and on after the first couple of weeks. Look at all his money here. Listen, Lamar Jackson is going to get paid. He's a good quarterback. I have been a big Lamar Jackson fan because he's helped me win a lot of fantasy football championships. But the reality is that Lamar Jackson's game is inconsistent. He has not been a great player. He was great the year he won the MVP. And he won the MVP because of his unique greatness. But since then, he's been an inconsistent player. He has not been great for the most part since that MVP season. I don't know why people are scared to say anything with any negative about Lamar Jackson. It's very weird to me. I think Lamar Jackson's a good quarterback. I think he's going to get paid. I just don't think he's one of the elite quarterbacks of the NFL. He has an elite skill to run the ball. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I don't. I think that's pretty obvious to me. It doesn't mean he couldn't become one. I just don't think he is. It doesn't mean I don't think he's good. It just means I don't think he's great. I think the Ravens, though, win, and so do the Bengals. So there you go. The Steelers, who are the Steelers playing? Oh, they're on Monday Night Football. All right, I'll save that. What an awful Monday Night Football game. Steelers and Colts. Ugh. Terrible. All right, like I said, we'll get back to the Browns. Other 1 o'clock games, Texans and Dolphins. The Dolphins are a 13-point favorite. Listen, when it's a lot of points to lay in the NFL, but the Dolphins, for the most part, have taken care of business. Now, most of their games outside of the Browns have been close recently. The 3 wins they had before the Browns against bad teams, they beat the Steelers by 6, the Lions by 4, and the Bears by 3. So they haven't won. The only game they've won, I don't think they've won by more than 13 points. They beat the Patriots by 13, and obviously they beat the Browns by 22. So it makes you think, well, they're not going to kick their ass, but the Texans are so bad. They're the one team that's they're clearly head and shoulders the worst team in football. I think they're the only terrible team in the league. Even the Raiders, who have been bad, the Browns, some of these other teams, the Broncos, they're bad teams. They're, but the Texans are on the level of by themselves, I think, in terms of bad. Dolphins at home have been great. You wonder about them taking their foot off the gas a little bit, but I can't. I'm not going to take the Texans with any points at this point. So what's the Texans' schedule? Could they be underdog by more than 13 the rest of the way? Obviously, they're playing the Browns. At the Cowboys, Chiefs at home. Those will be pretty big spread. Chiefs will be a double-digit favorite on the road. If that game were at home, they'd be favored by 17 probably. Anyway, so I'll take the Dolphins. Bears and Jets, 1 o'clock. Be interesting to see if Justin Fields plays. I mean, that plays a big role here. I'm assuming he's not going to play. If he doesn't, I'll take the Jets. If he does, the line's going to change. Jets are favored by 4.5. Bears have been bad on the road. I mean, Justin Fields has done big things with his legs. He's 5th in the NFL in rushing, and he's done most of it the last 5-6 weeks. Jets are weird because they didn't score last week. I never liked Zach Wilson. Listen, I've gotten plenty wrong and plenty right coming out of college. There were 2 guys in the last bunch of years that everybody thought were going to be good out of college that I said were going to suck, and I've been so far proven right. Both Jets, Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson, didn't think either of them would be any good. Everybody liked them. I thought they'd both suck. Now, again, I've gotten plenty wrong. I thought Josh Rosen was going to be good. I thought Brandon Weeden was going to be good. I thought Baker Mayfield was going to be good. I was wrong about all those guys. But I was definitely right about Zach Wilson, it appears. And maybe he'll turn it around. But I hate this game. If Justin Fields plays, I'm taking the Bears. Whatever, the spread will go down. But if he plays, I'm taking the Bears. If he doesn't, I'll take the Jets. But I don't like either team. Falcons and Commanders. I like the way the Commanders have played. There's something. This Taylor Heineke's got a little. In the last 2 years, he's brought a little juice to that team. I don't think he's a very good quarterback, but there's something about when he plays, almost a little Garoppolo-like. Not quite as good, but he gives them a little something, a little edge. I like the Commanders at home to stay over 500. Every team in that division is over 500. And the Falcons have been feisty, better than I expect, but they've been really bad on the road. They've lost 4 or 5 on the road. They played very well at home. They're 4-2 at home, but on the road, not good. I'll lay the 4.5 with Washington. Broncos, Panthers, this is a terrible game. And the Panthers are probably right there with the Texans. I said there's only one team at that level. The Panthers are probably there, too. I mean, the Panthers at least can play defense. So I will take them out of that, But they're probably the second worst team, but at least they play a little defense. Obviously, their quarterback situation is just as bad as Houston. Baker stinks. All their quarterbacks stink. Baker's been benched for the second time. Sam Darnold starting this week. I mean, I don't know who to pick in this game. The Broncos have been a disaster. They've won one game on the road. Russell Wilson can't get them going. They have no running game whatsoever. You know what? I'll take the Panthers at home. I hate the game. I would never pick it if I didn't have to. I'll take the Panthers at home. I think both teams stink. Low-scoring game. I'll take the home team as a dog. 4 o'clock games, Chargers at the Cardinals. I think, I don't know if the Cardinals are going to get Kyler Murray back this week. But the Cardinals, weird, are 1-5 at home and 3-2 on the road. Very strange. Chargers have been, again, everybody goes nuts about Justin Herbert, and I love Justin Herbert too. I think he's an extremely talented guy. But the Chargers he has a lot of talent around them, and I know some guys have been hurt. And they haven't done any winning. They haven't gone to the playoffs. They don't, again, they still could make the playoffs. They're 5-5. They got a reasonable shot. But as of now, they're not in the playoffs. If he doesn't go to the playoffs again, third year in a row, it might be time to change the coach, too. Staley, you can't, with this amount of talent, you can't miss the playoffs 2 years in a row. I'll take the Chargers on the road in this one. Raiders at the Seahawks. Seahawks coming off a bye. Raiders are a bad football team. They did get a win against Denver last week on the road, their first road win of the year. The Seahawks have been a surprise. I'm going to shock you. I'm going to pick the Raiders in this one. The Seahawks have overachieved. The Raiders have underachieved. I'm not a Josh McDaniels guy, but I'll take the Raiders plus the points on the road. Rams at Chiefs. The defending Super Bowl champs are a 14.5-point underdog because they don't look like anything like the team that won the Super Bowl last year. And the Chiefs are cooking right now. It's a lot of points. But probably no Stafford. They have no Cooper Kupp. They have no running game whatsoever. Their defense has been bad. I would stay away, but I'm for over 2 touchdowns. It's hard to bet. If I had to pick, I'd take the Chiefs. I'll take the Saints to keep it close with the Niners. I kind of feel about this game the same way I do about the Giants against the Cowboys and the Lions against the Bills. I think that the big favorite wins but doesn't cover. The Niners obviously playing very well, but I think the Saints will keep it close. I'll take the Saints plus the 9. And on Sunday Night Football, Eagles at home against the Packers. Eagles lost 2 weeks ago. Had to pull one out late last week. They're not playing quite as well. I'll still take them at home. The Packers have been awful. I'll lay the 7 points. And finally, let me take a quick break. When I come back, I'll give you my pick on the Browns and the Buccaneers. Also look ahead to the Cavs weekend as well. It's all coming up. The Bullpen with Adam the Bull. Okay. So, a lot of things pointing to the Browns losing this game. Buccaneers coming off a bye. We know Tom Brady. Buccaneers have played a little better of late. But the Browns are at home. That's an advantage for them. But here's the thing. It's mostly just a hunch. Okay, and to be fair, I haven't really been good at picking the Browns games this year. I've been off. My record, I got to figure it out. But my record of picking Browns games versus the spread this year has not been good. I will admit that. So maybe my hunches are not working very well, so you should bet against me. However, I'm not buying that this Tampa Bay's been fixed. Tom Brady is not the same guy. It doesn't mean he's not good. He's just not the same guy. Now, maybe they found a running game with Rachaad White, who before their bye had a good game at over 100 yards against Seattle. But I just don't think their offense is playing well. You look at Tampa Bay, like the Browns have struggled with teams that can run the ball, and he's for the most part the high offense, octane offensive teams, except for Cincinnati. Tampa Bay, if you look at it, since in their last 6 games, they have scored 21, 18, 3, 22, 16, 21. They're not scoring a ton of points. For the most part, they haven't run it effectively. Now, they did against Seattle, haven't the rest of the year. Now, maybe that's something because they're going with the rookie that it'll be changed and they'll dominate the Browns on the ground. But I just think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not that good a team, and they're overrated because of Tom Brady. And I don't think they're that much better. Right now, I think they and the Browns are pretty even, in my opinion. And I don't think that the Browns should be this over a touchdown underdog at home. I just don't see it. Not against this team. I don't think they're that good. Now, I certainly might get proven wrong, but I'm going to take the Browns. At the very least, they keep it to a field goal and lose by 3, which would be a cover. I think the Browns are going to win outright. I like them to win this game 24-23. So I'll take the Browns plus 3.5 at home. Before we go, I want to talk about the Cavaliers. Obviously, they've followed up a 5-game losing streak with a 3-game winning streak, beating the Hawks the other night 114-102 to win their 3rd straight. Very good performance by the Cavs. In this one, they did not take their foot off the gas at all. In fact, they in the second quarter, they didn't have a great second quarter, but in the second half, they outscored the Hawks 50-43. That's what you want. That's more like it. Good fourth quarter to put it away. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland combined for 55 points, 4 rebounds, and 18 assists. Huge game. It was good. Now, Darius Garland turned it over 8 times. You don't want to see that. But Jetty had a huge game. He'd been struggling lately. 8 of 10, 3 of 4 at 23 points. Those are the only 3 guys with more than 10 points. Mobley had 10 and 9 rebounds. Jared Allen had 8 and 11, but, they didn't need to score a ton of points in this one. And obviously, except for the turnovers by Garland, it was a good game. Cavs try to continue their winning streak tonight. They're at home against the Portland Trail Blazers. They continue this homestand, or they wrap up this homestand with the game against the Blazers. And then Friday night should be a lot of fun. The Cavs are at Milwaukee Friday night, and then they go to Detroit. So by the time we talk again on Monday, now I'll be this is an Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show today. We're doing an abbreviated ones on Thursday and Friday during Thanksgiving week, and we'll be on for the post game. But by the time we really talk about the Cavs again on Monday, they will have played these 3 games. So you got game tonight, Wednesday night, which is tonight, Friday night, and Sunday night. Portland at home and Milwaukee and Detroit on the road. So there you go. So the Milwaukee game will be interesting. I expect the Cavs to go at least 2-1 in these 3. Be nice to see them pull one out against Milwaukee on the road as well. All right, thanks for joining me today. As always, everybody have a beautiful Thanksgiving. I am very appreciative. I'm very thankful for all of you fans who listen or watch the podcast, who watch the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, who have listened to me in Cleveland on the radio or on TV or via podcast since August 29th, 2011. Hard to believe that it's been this long. I love you all. I hope you have a great time with your family on Thanksgiving. Eat, celebrate, have fun, have a great time. Follow me on Twitter, please, at Adam the Bull. I'm sure you are already. Check out my website, adamthebull.com. Check out my Cameo, Adam the Bull. Make sure you subscribe or become a member if you want for bonus content for the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Click the alert bell. That's how you'll find out whenever I put out a podcast, whenever we put out bonus shows, including our Thanksgiving Day show, including which we will do, including our Friday show, which we'll do from our homes, kind of like our post-game show we do for the Browns. We'll have a Buckeyes postgame on Saturday after Ohio State, Michigan. Oh, my God, I didn't pick that game. I'm taking the Buckeyes not only to win but cover. They win by 10 points in this game at home. Buckeyes are going to win this game 37-27 over the Wolverines this Saturday, 12-0. They'll crush the Big Ten championship game, and they'll go to the playoffs as the 2 seed. That's how I see it. I'll talk to you Monday. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. See ya.